That's the terminology, but it is.
I got it.
It is this one. I meant this one.
Anyway.
I calculated this is okay. It might be also that in Egyptian his name sounded differently. That was just saying you how the translation of his name would be in Hebrew.
Right.
Okay. So on Daf we did the Mishnah without the recording. So in honor of the recording, we'll do it again. That's the outside. That Rav Meir of you to talk about what the pasuk is talking about when it says "U'machu es tashorachai ve'chatzu es kaspo," and the pasuk says that when the town damaged, so they sell. We said yesterday if it means there's bezin sale or the mazik and the nizik, but they sell the live show and they divide this money and they also divide the dead. So Rav Meir just explained the first part of the pasuk. They must go further about how he explains the end of the pasuk. But what would be the case that they sell the live shore? Of course, it must be the case was that the live shore and the dead shore when the dead shore was alive, the mazik and the nizik both were of equal value. The marshal giving over here, both of them were worth 200. And if the Neva is worthless, the carcass is worthless, so you'd sell the live show and divide the money. He got 100. His damage was 200. The whole show is gone, and now he gets half of the damage is 100. But Rabbi Yehuda says that doesn't explain the end of the pasuk. The pasuk says also something about dividing the nevela, and you don't have any nevela. In your case, it's true. The halach is true. Yeah, your halach is true. But the pasuk talks about dividing the nevela. Your case doesn't fit into the pasuk because there is no nevela in your case. So Yehuda says the case will be that the nevela is worth something, let's say 50, and it comes out that the damage is the difference between what the shore was and what the shore is 150, and we're going to give him half of the damages. The damage is going to end up having 175. He had 200, and he doesn't get back. He doesn't get reimbursed the whole thing. He gets half of what he's missing. He's missing 50, and he gets half of that 175. How does the Torah explain that? You sell the live shore. Each one's going to and divide. That's going to be each one gets 100. You sell the nevela, which is 50, and everyone's going to get 25. So the mazik gets 175. He lost 25, and then Nizik also lost 25. He didn't get the whole damages. So far,
25 left. Oh, I didn't get the whole.
The damages were 50, and he's going to pay 25. So when they sell the live show, the dead show, so that'll be the Chatzi Nezik. So it seems very interesting how the pasuk said a formula that Lachor could have said half the damages. It doesn't say half the damages. It talks about selling the mazik, which happens to be the same value as a given. That the mazik is the same value as the nizik was, and by selling half of what the nizik was and half of what the nizik is, that's another way of saying half the damages, half of the difference. So in the Mishnah, you don't say any machlokes really. Everyone seems to agree with the halachas. Everybody is also going to agree to the halacha that says in this case. As he talked about a case that the nevela was worthless, he's talking about a case where the nevela is worth something. The pasuk seems to talk about the case where the nevela is worth something. So we don't really see a machlokes in the Mishnah, but the Gemara is going to come out there is some kind of a machlokes. And Rav Meir didn't explain in the Mishnah what taka does he do? He talked about a pasuk. He talked about a case that there is no nevela. The nevela is worthless. So what does it mean to divide the nevela? So the Gemara is going to this says a brisa which is going to explain a little bit more. Tanu Rabbana. Here the brisa brings Rav Yehuda then Rav Meir. Tanu Rabbana. Shor shav masayim shenok shor shav masayim. Again, the mazik and the nizik were equal value, 200. Vanavel yafa chamishin, and the carcass of the nizik is worth 50. Chamishin lo tolchatzi achai v'chatzi ameis. V'zen lo tolchatzi achai v'chatzi ameis. So the mazik gets half the live shore. They sell the live one, they sell the carcass, and they divide it both. And it comes out that he's going to get half the damages.
The mazik?
The nizik got paid for half the damages. How does the pasuk express it? And they sell the carcass and they divide that money, and that's going to be the pasuk that it says. Rav Meir Omer ain't zeu sharma b'Torah. Rav Meir disagrees. In the Mishnah, he spoke first, and Rav Yehuda said it doesn't fit into the pasuk. Here, Rav Yehuda speaks first, and Rav Meir says that's not the pasuk. Ella shor shavam masayim shenagach shor shavam masayim ve'ein anaveli afa klum. He's very same as he said in the Mishnah. Pasuk's talking about that the veil is worthless. Al zenam machos hashav v'chatzulas kaspo. That is the pshat in the first half of the pasuk that they sell the live shor and they divide it, and there's nothing else. He is no nevela. So the question is, like if you asked him, what do you do at the end of the pasuk? It says v'gamas hameis yachadson. Elamani mekayim v'gamas hameis yachadson. Well, how am I going to explain the end of the pasuk that says that you also divide the nevela l'chora? So he says it doesn't mean that. He says the Gamma Semesia Chasun means something else altogether. He says it means Bachas Shepirso Misa Machsen Bachai. He has a whole different pshat. It says the Gamma Semesia Chasun doesn't mean to divide the carcass. The Gamma Semesia Chasun means how you divide how much the death caused. How much did the death cause it to decrease? That you divide, which is the way we would say it. We would say that you pay half the damages. He learned that into the pasuk. The Gamma Semeitz Yechazon is not saying you do this plus that. It's saying over again. It's saying over again the same thing. First, he gave a example where the veil is not worth anything. It was 200, now it's 0, so you have to pay 100, and that's what I said. Marchos Hashorachai. You sell the live shore, which is equal to what the original shore was, and you divide it. That's another way of saying Chatzi Nezek. But then the pasuk says, not only this case, any case, you divide how much the death decreased the value, right, which is the way we would say it. We wouldn't have said V'gamas and Mesech. The pasuk, it doesn't mean you divide the carcass. It means you divide the decrease that the death caused. That's okay. That will be a cloud. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's talking about after in the case that not after case, the case that the nevela is worth something, and the way the pasuk says it is divide half the living and half the dead, half the original shore and half the dead shore. And Rabbi Meir says the pasuk is talking about that the nevela is worthless, and the pasuk says divide the live shore, which means the full value of what the nizik was worth, divide it in half. True. But then the pasuk says always the clouds be you divide half of the decrease that the death caused. The Gamas and Mesiach Chatzon, he understands the mace doesn't mean the carcass. It means what the death caused, the decrease that the death caused. They should divide the difference of how much the death caused it to decrease in value.
It's terrible.
So far the Gemara didn't talk about it. There was a Gemara that it was right away it's going to talk about it. That the Gemara you're quoting is a Gemara that said a long time ago over there talking about a muad. That a muad it belongs to the Ba'alam Ataflim ben Nevela, Chas Nevela. The Gemara had different words for it over there. I think it was the Haftes over there, which means the nizik is stuck with the Nevela. The Mazik says you have something left that's yours, take care of it. And over there, even if it's going to deteriorate, it's going to be the nizik's worry. He has to take care of it, and the Mazik just has responsible for the damages. That was the Manamua. Here's the Manatam. So far, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about who gets the Nevela, but they were talking about how much is the value, how much is the amount that he has to pay. So Mary says the pasuk means that they divide the decrease that the death caused. According to Buddha, the words mean they should divide the carcass. Okay, that's the end of the brisa. We're in the first white line, which is but
My wife will be on the same page. He's leaving tomorrow. So sometimes we feel something we wouldn't do a special part of the year as leave. So one's coming. I think he's coming.
What are you going to do?
You think they want to we're not seeing anything smart people we can put something.
Why some bait? So
Maybe there's anybody have any ideas? I mean,
okay. We have to talk. Let's make a meeting.
It's 16 days for sure.
we have to do it today.
That's not tonight or this afternoon or something. I mean, we have to put some thoughts for it. I don't take everybody's time, but I'm just saying, well, if you don't talk about it now, we won't come together and we hear you can go later. Or would you go out to share with it?
Okay.
He might be here. Okay. It's fine. One thing. But yeah, I have a question.
Okay. First white line. In the case of Rabbi Yehuda, let's say, the Gemara takes the case of Rabbi Yehuda, you can take the case of Rabbi Meir also. There's no machlokes. In the case of Rabbi Yehuda, that it decreased 50, that it was till 50. What do we say? That it was 200 and then it decreased till 50, the damage was 150. So each one's going to take 125, which means that he got back half of the damages. The damage was 150, and he gets 75.
Which is supposed to get half them. I mean, that's the point, isn't that the point?
So the one is asking that there's no difference between Machlokes Rabbeinu and Rabbi. Rabbi says the case is talking about that the 200 decreased to 0 and he gets 100. And Rabbi said the case was that it decreased 150 and he's going to get back 75 of that decrease. He has the 50 left plus 75. That's going to be 125. So everybody gets 125. So there's no Machlokes. How you learn the pasuk? Okay, he learns the pasuk this way, he learns the pasuk that way. But the Gemara Safa doesn't see any halacha lamaisa difference. There's no difference in halacha because both of them agree that you get half of the damages. So what's the difference if you learn like a or learn like a Yud? So first the Gemara starts about Chasna Vela, which is what Moshe mentioned, and the Gemara's going to talk about it. The difference is if the Nevela deteriorates, means according to Rabbi Meir, the Torah just says you pay half of the damages. That's the way the Torah expressed itself. It talked about that the Nevela is worthless, so it's not going to get any decrease. It's not going to get deteriorated. It's already 0. At the time of the Nezek, it went from 200 to 0, so there's nothing to talk about. And when the Torah says a klal, it says you pay half of the decrease in value that the death caused. It never talked about the Nevela. So according to Rameh, the Torah doesn't say anything of the Mazik having any connection to the Nevela. Rameh also would agree that if the Nevela is worth something, the Torah says that you pay half of the difference of the decrease of the difference. But it didn't talk about the Nevela. It didn't talk about it. It just says that the payment is half of the decrease, half of the damage. But according to Yehuda, that the way the Torah says it is by saying that the Mazik and the Nizik, both each one gets half of the live one, half of the dead one. So it did talk about the Mazik having ownership of some sort of the Nevela. So therefore, the Gemara thinks that according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the Nevela is going to deteriorate, it might be on the cheshbon of the Mazik. The Mazik also.
Take
Half the loss. He's going to take half the loss of the deterioration. Yeah. I mean, because since the Torah says that you divide the carcass and each one gets half the carcass, so now if the carcass deteriorates, the Mazik's carcass is also deteriorating. And according to Amir, the Mazik has nothing to do with the carcass. My damage is the difference between the live shore and the dead shore, and that's all I have to pay. And the carcass is yours. So the Gemara suggests that that's going to be the machlokes. Rav Meir said, Rav Meir was going to hold that the deterioration of the nevela is on the head of the nizik because the mazik has nothing to do with it. He just pays the difference between the original shore and the dead shore, and that's it. Yeah, that's his bill, and he goes home, and the carcass belongs to the nizik, and if it deteriorates, it's his business. But the Abuda Sava, Chas Nevela, the mazik havi palga. Rav Meir holds that Abuda holds that half of the nevela belongs to the mazik. So if it deteriorates, half the loss is going to be him, right? That's what the Gemara suggests. Now, Moshe mentioned before that the Gemara a long time ago said that by a Nemud, the Chas Nevela of the nizik, and the Gemara is going to talk about that by Muad, Chas Nevela of the nizik, as it possible to say that by a Tam, the Mazik is going to suffer more. By a Muad, the Mazik doesn't suffer from the deterioration of the Nevela because it's not his business. Chas Nevela of the nizik. And he was saying that the possibility, according to Yehuda, that the Mazik is going to suffer from the deterioration of the Nevela. Is that fair? That what?
Sounds like it.
That the Muad that the Tam should be more chomer than the Muad. Amalei Abayim came Masina Yehuda. Tam, we turn the page. Tam chomer mimuad. It comes out according to this cheshbon that Yehuda holds that there's a chomer and Tam that the Muad doesn't have. A Muad doesn't. The Mazik doesn't suffer from the deterioration of the nevela, and by the time he does. And that's not impossible. And the right away says, maybe it is. Maybe it's possible that a time is a chumrah more than a Muad does. And the Gemara doesn't talk about it here, but the Gemara over there did say it's such that it could be the fact that Tam gets a discount. So maybe there's a limited discount. There are limited restrictions on the discount. The Muad that's paying the full damages, it's okay, he paid full damages, and even if the Nevela is not his business. But the Gemara said this before, that it's possible that the Tam should have a chumrah that the Chas Nevela might be on the Mazik. And the Gemara here also maybe is entertaining that possibility that you do see a chumrah sometimes of a Tam over a Muad. And the Gemara brings examples where you do find that the Abuda holds that a Tam has a chumrah that a Muad doesn't have. Kiratnan, other places, Abuda Omer Tam Chayiv and Muad Potter. Rashi says that's talking about Ashmir Pchusa. How much do you have to watch it? How much do you have to guard the animal. It's called a shmir pchusa, shmir mula. So it says that Rabbi Yehuda holds that a tam
Chayiv for what?
for you're responsible for your ox damaging. He says, I watched it, but he only watched it as shmir pchusa. He did a minimal amount of shmir, which we'll see later on what that means. It's called a minimal amount of guarding, and there's a high quality guarding. So a tam is chayiv on shmir pchusa. It's not enough, but a muad is pater, which doesn't make sense. Maybe it's counterintuitive. A muad maybe
Is Chayiv shmir what?
pchusa. That's why it's underlined over here. A minimal.
Pechusa.
It's a minimal kind of a guarding, and a tam.
Chayiv on the minimal.
It means that if it went out and a damage, he says, I watched it. He said, no, you didn't watch it enough. But by a muad, if you watch that amount, it is enough. The muad would be put because the owner says, I watched it. So we don't have the details over here. We have to get over there. Rashi says, Perik Shoshan over there. There's going to be a Mishnah coming up, and there's going to be a Chumrah of Rabbi Yehuda over a Meir, over a Chumrah of Rabbi Yehuda of a tam over a muad. So if we do find such a concept, so maybe it's not such a terrible thing that Rabbi Yehuda should hold that a tam, the mazik does lose from the deterioration of the nevela, and by muad it doesn't. Maybe you find that it's not possible that there should be a chumrah of a tam over a muad, but the Gemara says no. Over there, there's a pasuk. There's going to be some pasuk to say that a tam is more responsible for a shmira pchusa. This minimal shmira that Rashi brought down, shmira pchusa. There's a pasuk over there. Maybe only over there that there's a pasuk, even though it doesn't, like there's a pasuk, it doesn't have to make sense to us. It's not rational. It's not logical. Over there, the pasuk says that the tam is chayiv and the muad is pater. Okay, but that doesn't mean you could apply it to other places also. Do you find that as far as payments, it's possible to say that the tam is going to be more chayiv than the muad, that the mazik is going to lose out more, that the deterioration of the nevela. So, and the Gemara says no. I'm going to show you that he holds as far as Lashlumin that the tam is not more chayiv than the muad. It changes the currency in the middle of the sentence, but man is 100, called 100 zut. And a sela is 4 zuz. Chamish lam is 5 times 4 is 20. So it's going to be an expensive shore that was mazik a cheap shore. Call it 100, a shore that was worth 100, mazik a shore that's worth 20. But a belly off a sela, and the carcass is worth 4. So the damage was 16. You're going to say, Zenot l'chatzi yachai v'chatzi ames, Zenot l'chatzi yachai v'chatzi ames. Rabbi Yehuda says, is it possible to say that Torah means, read the Torah in all cases? I said the case before, that a 200 and a 200, both of them were equal. But here, the Brisa is entertaining the possibility. Who says the Torah is talking about equal? Who says that it was equal fight, the Mazik and the Nizik? Maybe it was a big shore, 100 against 20. And now the Torah is going to say, and he made the 20 go down to 4. And now the Torah says, you sell the live one, you sell the dead one, the carcass, and you divide the money. Comes out, each one's going to get 100. What's it going to be? You sell the one which is worth 100. Each that half of that is 50, and you sell the nevela which is 4, and you're going to divide that. You get 2. Each one's going to get 52. So the nizik before had a shore which was 20, and now he has 52. Can't be that the nizik is going to gain on it. Is that possible? Amrit. Here's what the Gemara is looking for. That the Buddha says it can't be that a tam is more chomer than a muad. You said a possibility, maybe a tam is more chomer. Can't be. Avidah himself says only over there is gzeres hakasa by shmira pchusa that a muad is pater and a tam is chayiv. But as far as Tashlumin, Avidah himself said as far that it can't be. When the Torahs come to be machmer and a muad or to make a level omer lachmer level, figure it out. You'll say that surely it's going to be machmer. And if a muad doesn't pay more than his mazik, how could it be that by a tam the nizik is going to get more than it he had? He had 20, and now he's going to get 52. More than a that muad doesn't pay more than it was mazik, and it's going to come out that the tam is going to pay more than his mazik. Can't be. So the Gemara refuted Abaye's ability to say that the Abuda holds pras nevela, because we know, but everyone agrees that the Gemara before that said pras nevela. There was a pasuk to learn that pras nevela is on the nizik. By a muad, the mazik doesn't lose anything from the deterioration of the nevela. And you want to say now that according to Abuda, the mazik does lose from the deterioration of the nevela by a tam. Can't be that a tam is more chomer than a muad. So the Gemara here refuted Abaye's pshat. Again, we're looking for my benayim. The bottom of the page, he says this is pshat of the pasuk, this is pshat of the pasuk. But everybody agrees that you may have to damage it. So what's the machlokus? You can't say pras nevela because it can't be that by a tam, by muad, Chas Nevela is all on the nizik, and by muad, the Chas Nevela is going to be half on the mazik, can't be. So the Gemara tries a different possibility. Ella, Amar Rab Yochanan, before Abai said the test. Now Rab is going to say the opposite. Shvach Nevela kibenayu, not Chas Nevela, but Shvach Nevela. What if the Nevela increases in value? The mazik,
Must be the shar in the world.
the price went up, right? The market value of the Nevela went up. The market value went up.
So now the Nevela is worth more than a live one.
Or
No,
that's going to be extreme.
Or
Then it was. The Gemara is going to talk about the case if the Nevela is even worth more than it was in the beginning. Is that possible? But let's just take the point that according to our mayor, that the mazik has nothing to do with the Nevela. It's not his business. He does say the Torah just said the way the Torah worded it was that you have to pay for half the damages, half of the decrease that the Nevela that the death caused. So that didn't give the mazik any handle, any kind of connection to the Nevela. According to our mayor, the way the Torah expressed itself, according to Yehuda, I'm sorry, the way the Torah expressed itself was by saying each one gets half the alive and half the dead. That means that the Torah did give the mazik something about the Nevela. If so, if the Nevela is going to get improved, they're going to increase, so the mazik is going to gain on that. The Marsav of the Nizikavi, Rabbi Meir holds that the Nevela belongs to the Nizik, and the mazik has no part of that. So if it gets increased,
that's right.
it's all Rabbi. It's all going to be on the Nizik. Marsav Palga and Rabbi Yehuda holds that half of the increase goes to the mazik because he is a chelik in the carcass also.
So he'll say you didn't lose as much. He'll say to the nizik, you didn't lose as much as we thought. So I don't have to pay this.
And that they weren't happy with this. That this machlokes are made of Yehuda, and we're going to pass like Yehuda that if the Nevela increase by a muad, that doesn't affect the mazik at all. But by a tam, the mazik is even going to gain that the Nevela got increased.
But it still doesn't make it. It doesn't make the muad more makel. Even though he's going to gain, it doesn't make it more makel though.
It's the other way. It's the other way. It's the opposite over here. That the tam is more makel by the muad.
Before our kasha was
because we thought because the case would be that by a muad the mazik does not lose from the deterioration of the Nevela. From the deterioration, it doesn't lose, and by the time it would lose, can't be. That was what I said before.
Yeah.
Here the Gemara is saying it's not a question of the question of gaining, and by a muad he doesn't gain, and by a tam it's possible he should gain. It's in the right direction. The tam is more lenient than the muad. By muad, we're not going to give the mazik the benefit of the increase of the Nevela, but that's okay.
Give the tam that
By a muad, we're not going to give the mazik any benefit of the increase of the Nevela.
we're giving to that.
By a muad.
Oh, by a muad, we're not good.
Because that has nothing to do with the Nevela. Here it's saying that by a time you do give. Rabbi Yehuda holds that by a time you do give the benefit of the increase to half of the the muad stays the same, and the mazik has nothing to do with the Nevela, not for better or for worse. The mazik has nothing to do with the Nevela, but by a time here it's saying that he does have something to do with the Nevela, not for worse, only for better.
Mazik, he could benefit and still not be considered makel.
He's being more makel. We're being more makel on the top. As far as we said, that can't be that a muad is more makel than a tam. So before that, we were talking about
a muad is not. We said a muad.
A muad is the big show. He's the wild show. It can't be that he was warned 3 times already and he's ignoring it the whole time, and there's more leniency than for a tam. So before we said that by the muad he doesn't get punished, he doesn't lose from the deterioration. It can't be that by the tam he's going to be punished. The mazik. But he was saying the opposite. That they're not punishment. There is going to be a benefit, and the tam benefits, and the muad doesn't benefit. Very nice, yeah. The muad, we tell the muad, yeah, you want to benefit? No, the tam benefits. It's only a tam, so it's in line with the direction that we'd like it to go. That the tam is more lenient. So here, according to Meir, there's no difference. Both the tam and the muad, the mazik has nothing to do with the nevela. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, by the tam, the mazik benefits from the increase of the nevela. By muad, he wouldn't. The kakashla Rabbi Yehuda, and that's why we find in the brisa, it's probably a brisa that Rabbi Yehuda had a havamina to give benefit to the mazik even more than we said now. now that you say that the Torah had Rahmanis on the Mazik, that he does get part of the increase of the Nevela, I might take it even further. You might go so far to say that if a 20 shore worth 20, here's the opposite. Before we had a case of an expensive shore that was mazik a cheap shore. Here's the opposite. A cheap shore, 20 shore, was mazik 100, a shore worth 100.
Yeah.
And the villa is worth 50. So what's gonna happen? If you're gonna sell both of them, what do you have left? You have the live show, which is 20.
Maybe you have 15, 27.
70, and then you're going to divide it in half, get 35.
Each.
And what's going to happen?
The guy that has the 20 show is making $50.
Right. So the mazik is gaining. Not only is he benefiting, before the question was that the damage is going to be less.
Right.
But now you can maybe you take it so far to say that the Torah gave him a benefit.
And he's not even getting the half.
How much did he have? He had 100, right?
100.
And he's only going to get 35. Right.
50.
So is it possible to say that?
The mazik was 20.
Yes, and the nizik was 100. And the
Nevela.
nevela
So first of all,
is
without the
50.
nevela, he'd have to pay.
Well, how much was the damage?
Well, 50. He'd only pay 20. He'd only pay half. 10.
Half of what?
Wait a minute. Half of 50 of 100 is 50,
Yes.
and he's worth 20. So he paid 20.
What is talking about Chatzi Nezik? If Chatzi Nezik means what? So according to maybe it's half the damage.
Nezik means if it was worth, he damaged something worth 100. Chatzi Nezik is 50.
And Rameir, that's Rameir's talk. Rameir would say Chatzi Nezik is 50.
But he was only worth 20.
So that's another thing of
So
Bigufo that he doesn't have to.
20.
That's because he doesn't have to, because the ceiling is Bigufo. That's another point, right? But Rabbi doesn't mean the pasuk like that. Rabbi doesn't mean the pasuk that you pay half the damages. Rabbi means the pasuk that you
Paid half of the
half of the losses are Rameir's talk.
half of the
mazik and half of the nizik. Sell the mazik and sell the nizik. That's how Rabbi reads the pasuk. Machmos is shy for
10. Half of 20 is 10.
And half of
100.
half of 100. How much was the damage over there? It was 100, and that was
No,
what?
we said that the
damage was 50, right?
the damage was
50. So now the thing's worth 50.
The live show and the dead show. The live show is 20. The dead show is 50.
50.
The dead show is 50.
Yeah.
So
25 plus 10.
it's 35.
Yeah.
He should get 35. He started off with 20. Now he has 35. The mazik is all smiles. And the nizik had a show of 100, and he has now 35. Yes, please. I thought somebody said something. Okay. So Rabbi is asking, that means the Gemara is explaining now that we see that Rabbi does give a benefit to the mazik, that he gains on the benefit of the increase of the nevela. He thinks that maybe the Torah gave him also, if you're going to read it literally, so then maybe in all cases across the board, you divide the chai, divide the mace, and it'll come out that the mazik is even going to gain on it. That he says it can be. Amrit, mazik niska, shazay niska. Where do you ever find that the mazik is going to gain? That this guy's going to gain? You had to shove 20, now he's going to have 35. Omer, and another reason why it can be is because the pasuk says Shalem Mishalem. That's the pasuk, the Shalem Mishalem. Where's the pasuk? Okay, I'm just always getting it wrong. Shalem Yishalem Shotach HaShor. Here it talks about a shor and agoch and small shishom, a muad. So actually points out someone a muad, but the Gemara is going to say this far that it says Shalem, Yishalem, it's talking about the Baalim, the owner. Shalem, he has to pay. So where's the Gemara? Since it says Shalem, Yishalem, so it means it's only paying. The Mazik pays. Baalim Mishalem, Vein Baalim Notlin. That of course the Mazik only pays, he doesn't get anything. So impossible. So Rabbi says, even though according to the pasuk, when it says the verdict, that you sell the live and sell the dead, it might come out that the mazik is going to gain. He had a share of 20, he's going to get 35. Can't be. First of all, you never find such a thing. And second of all, the pasuk here says Shalem Mishalem, that the mazik pays. The Gemara wants to know why you have to have a special pasuk for. My Omer, why do you need a pasuk? The Svar alone is enough that you never find that the mazik gains. You might think that the mazik doesn't gain on the cheshbon of the nizik. That here, the nizik is not getting his chatzi nezik. He had a shore 100, now he's only going to get 35. So it's not going to give the mazik 35, and the nizik is losing. But it might be a case where the nizik is not going to lose from this chatzin nezik, and the mazik will gain. Maybe that much, yes. What's going to be a case where the nizik doesn't lose? Shor shava chamesh lan, shenagach shor shava chamesh lan. At 20 was mazik at 20. And for some reason there was a big increase all of a sudden, and carcasses are in demand, and the veil is worth more than the live shore was. The live shore was worth 20, and now the veil is worth 30. Shakil nami mazik b'shvacha. Well, be over here. Let's say you sell the live shore and the dead shore. Then you sell the live one, which is 20, and half of that is 10. You sell the dead shore, which is 30. Half of that is 15, and it comes out each one's getting 25. So the nizik should be happy. Before you had a show which is 20, now you have a show which is 25. Even though you'd say if he wouldn't have killed it, I would have made it available also. I would have gotten the whole 30. I could have taken my live show now that the price went up. I would kill it and I would get 30. But you're not losing. At the time that the hezek happened, you had a show which was worth 20. And now the Nevela price the Nevela went up. It's true, probably the price of the live show also went up. But okay, but right now, but right now you have more than you had before. The time of the damage you had 20, and now you have 25. So maybe in this case we'll also allow the mazik to gain, and the mazik is also going to get 25, maybe. And that pasuk says, "Va'omer shalem shalem, ba'alam neshama ve'en ba'alam lotim." Even in the case where the nisik is not going to lose, the mazik cannot gain. The mazik never gains. It can't be that the mazik is going to gain, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda says, "Don't take the pasuk all the way to the end and say that you're always across the board are going to sell the live and sell the dead." It's only coming to tell you what the Gemara said in the beginning, that the shvacha only that the nevela increases in a way that the mazik is not going to have to pay so much, but not that he's not going to gain on. It can't be. He's not going to gain more than he had before.
Because then the gaining though is only on paper, right? It's not what they're paying out.
I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm not sure what you mean to say.
Mazik is worth 20, and he caused damage of what? 20.
The last case the Gemara said,
Yeah.
that he killed what it was worth at the time. I'm not sure, but right away went right 20 and 20, and he killed it. He made an avail out of it. How much was it worth? I don't know. 10. I don't know. I don't know what it was worth at the exact time. But then the increase right away, the market price right away jumped up, and it went up that the avail is worth 30. 10 minutes after he gored him, whatever was worth that, the avail was worth 10, 15, whatever it was.
He would owe him 10.
Or what? Half of whatever. He would have half of the damage.
Okay.
But then the price went up, and the mazik smiles to the nizik and say, "You have what you even had more than you had. So leave me alone." And I'm even going to take 25. Let's sell my shore, sell your shore, and I'll get 25 and be happy. So that the Torah says can't be. The mazik is not going to gain more than he had before. That you never find such a thing. And even over here,
well, you'll get 25 because you'll have 25 of an avail which is worth 30. You'll give me 5 of that.
You sell the 30 and you get 15, and you sell my show, which is 20, and I get 10. Each one's going to get 25. 15 plus 10. So I gained on it. The mazik says I'm going to gain. I had 20 or 25, and you also gained. You didn't gain as much as you would have gained. You would have gotten an avail if the whole thing would have been yours.
It was worth 20, now it's worth 30, so he would have had 10, but now he
He
only
would have had 10, meaning
30 is 10 more than the live one, which was 20.
Right.
But now he only has 25. So
okay, but you didn't lose it because you never had it. You never had the 30. You had 20, and now you got 25. So be happy.
But this one now really does have 25, and he had 20.
Right. That the Gemara says it can't be. That even if it's not going to be on the cheshbon of them. So the Gemara is happy with this shot. Again, and the shot in the pasuk, Rabbi Meir reads into the pasuk that you get half the damages. Half of, how do we say it? Half of how much the death decreased it, which is the way we say half of the damages. And the mazik has nothing to do with an avela. Rabbi Yehuda reads into the pasuk that there is an avela, and the pasuk talks about selling the live, selling the dead. It put the mazik into the nevela also, and the Gemara says it can't be talking about that he's going to lose on the deterioration of the nevela, because even a muad doesn't lose on the deterioration of the nevela. So that can't be. But it could be that he does gain, that the Tom is going to gain on the increase of the nevela, provided that he doesn't gain, he's not going to gain on it. he's not going to gain.
Sheva, but
He's
now
not
if
going to
it
gain
goes
more than he
higher
had. He's not going to gain more than he had, but he is going to become chayv less. He would have been chayv for the difference on the whole nevela, and now he's not going to have to pay for the nevela that it was worth so little, now it became worth more, so he won't have to pay so much. And the most happy with that. It could be. The Gemara is still asking that it comes out that it's true. It's not going to pay. The Tam is not going to pay. How's it going? It's not going to. The Gemara said before, it can't be that Moore doesn't even pay more than the damages. So it can't be that Tam is going to pay more than the damages. That was the case when, how did it go over there? That the 100 damaged the 20. That case where the 100 damaged the 20, so it can't be that the Nisk is going to get so much. He's not going to get half the live one, make him rich. He had 20 and now he's going to have 52. That was the Gemara's case before. That surely can't be. But the Gemara is going to talk about, is he going to get more than half damages? That the Gemara is questioning, that's not an impossibility. Usually he gets Chatzi Nezek. Maybe sometimes he's going to get more than Chatzi Nezek. So is that possible? If you're going to say Konta Beauty is still alive and the dead, provided you're not going to pay more than the full damages, but it could be that you'll pay more than half damages. That the Torah sounds like it's only half damages. The Gemara is assuming that even Rabbi is not going to say that you get more than half the damages. The answer is that Rabbi also agrees that it's Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir before. We thought Rabbi argues, but he does agree that the Torah is telling us means not the carcass, not that you divide the carcass, but that you divide the decrease of that the death caused, which now going back that there's no machlokas, right? These are words of Rabbi Meir. If Rabbi Yehuda also reads into the pasuk, so we're taking down the whole Rabbi Yehuda. Before he said the gamas and means that you divide the carcass. Now he said he also agrees that the pasuk means that you divide the decrease of the death caused. So there's no machlokas of Rabbi Yehuda or Meir. Minole, where does Rabbi Yehuda get it from? From these words that we said, Rabbi Meir said these words. Rabbi Meir said, and now Rabbi Yehuda is reading it the same way, that the decrease that the death caused, you divide. But the Gemara says Rabbi Yehuda didn't hold it at. Rabbi Yehuda, the pasuk that it means the carcass, and this we get his whole thing that the mazik has a chelik of the carcass also, as the Gemara explained that it means to say with the shvach nevela, the increase of the nevela. Rabbi Yehuda says that the mazik is going to gain on it. So how can you learn out now that he doesn't get more than chatzi nezek? The answer is my v'gam esames shramino. This word v'gam is an extra word that the Rabbi Yehuda darshans it also like Rabbi Meir. The word v'gam tells us that Rabbi Yehuda also. Maybe I don't know which one is going to be the extra drasha, but there's two drashas to learn over here. One is that he does have a chelik in the carcass, and that's as far as shvach nevela. And the other one is that he never pay more than half the damages. So even if the shvach nevela is going to cause, even if dividing it is going to cause that the mazik, that the nizik should get more than half, he's not going to. But Yehuda also holds that there's a limit on it. You don't get more than half damages. But he just has one drasha to say that the mazik has a chelik in the nevela. In a case where it got increased, he'll have to pay less because he has a chelik also in the increase. If that's good, we can go further. We pass like Rabbi Yehuda, by the way, that the mazik also has a chelik in the nevela as far as the increase, not as far as the deterioration, but as far as the increase, he also has a chelik. If that's good, we can go further.
Only in the increase.
Only an increase, right? As far as the deterioration, even a more doesn't lose on the deterioration, so surely a tam. But as far as there's a cooler for a tam that the mazik will gain on the increase of the nevela. Not that he's not right. And that's my first
you kept saying the damage, the amount of the damage of the death, meaning that the nevela is really worth something.
And whatever it is, if it's nothing, if it's something,
it's not really.
Whatever it does make a difference. Whatever it's worth. Again, the Rebbe doesn't care about the. Rebbe says you pay the difference of the damages.
For Rebbe Meir, if the animal was worth 20, then the damages aren't 20 because the nevela is worth something.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. He gave a case that it's worthless, and then the nevela klum. There's also such a possibility. It's not worth anything. That's the Mishnah said before. The Mishnah had a case that the nevela is not worth anything. It's that's how Rebbe learns the Torah. The machmas to show a chai, Meir says the case is that it was worth 200, now it's worth 0. So you sell the mazik, which is equal value, and you divide it in half. There is such a case that the veil is worthless. No dogs around, whatever, nothing to do with the nevela, whatever the case would be.
Okay, no market value. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
selling. Okay.
Or you can't get it out of the ball, whatever the case would be, whatever the shit. So it comes out that everyone agrees. But it comes out, everyone agrees the Chatzi Nezek, everything, and surely the Mazik is not going to gain anything. He's not going to gain money that he didn't have before, and the Nezek is not going to get more than Chatzi Nezek. The only one machlok is it boils down to also the Mazik doesn't lose under the deterioration of the Nevela by a Muad, doesn't surely not by a Tam. But one point, David the holds, and that's how he paskin, that the Mazik will gain on the increase of the Nevela to make his responsibility less. Okay, new Mishnah. Yesh chayv al ma'aseh shoro pater al ma'aseh atzmo, pater al ma'aseh shoro v'chayv al ma'aseh atzmo. It's contrasting the person himself damaging to his shor damaging. Sometimes, in some ways, a person could be chayv for his shor more than he's chayv for himself, and sometimes he could be chayv for himself more than he would be for his shor. Shor means when
they damage. Damages, sometimes the
shor is going to be chayv more than if he would have damaged that damage. If he would have done the same thing, sometimes he's chayv more than his shor. The Mishnah is going to say what that means. Kate said, shor shabiyish. This will be if the shor.
Oh, shabiyish pater. Yeah, there's no.
That is no chay. Yeah, it doesn't. And Taisa points out he doesn't even pay also tsar, ripoy, sheves. Not only boshes, he doesn't pay anything besides nezek. The shor only pays nezek. So if the shor would have been revised, you can also talk about he was mitzayir, he caused unemployment, he caused medical bills, all that the shor doesn't pay for. But the shabiyish chayiv. Tais talks about why the Gemara doesn't say the other things, but as far as the Mishnah is good, a shor is potter and boshes, and a man is chayv and boshes. That's one case that a shor is potter and he would be chayv.
It's not so perfect.
It's not what?
It's not so perfectly stated here, but the man is chayv because he had intention to damage,
and the shor also could have had intention to damage. In the case where
the man didn't have the intention to buy inch.
Right. You touching on the Gemara is going to ask the question that the shor never has intention to be mevayesh, and in such a case, the man also will be potter. And the Gemara is going to answer what we're saying now, that he doesn't have to have a kavanah. The man to be chayv doesn't have to have a kavanah to be mevayesh. He has to have kavanah to be mazik, and a shor also could have kavanah to be mazik.
From that case.
Right. That's what the Gemara spoke about.
She wanted to hurt it.
Even if she didn't want, I forgot the Gemara spoke about it over there, that you don't have to have kavanah to be mevayesh. That was a case where he was okay.
He was fighting with her.
Or it's that he fell off the roof and stuff like that, and he wanted to save himself. But it's true if a man will only be chayv boshes if he had intention to shame. A shor doesn't have that wisdom, intellect to be mevayish, to have intention to shame. So it wouldn't make sense. But it's not true. Then a man is chayv even as long as he had kavanah lahazik, and a shor also has kavanah lahazik. He's still part of boshes. So that's going to be one case where the Mishnah is giving an example of the sefer before the Reisha. This is the case of Pater al Ma'aseh Shoro, Chayv al Ma'aseh Atzmo. Maybe that's a nice thing to do in the same cup, but I didn't mean that. I meant this. Oh, that doesn't let me. Okay. It doesn't let me. Okay. That's what I do.
Chayv al Ma'aseh Atzmo.
That if he does that, he's high boshes, but the shor does, he's Pater boshes.
Yeah, I see. That was the sefer. Okay.
That's the sefer first. Another case, the shor being potter and the him being chayv. Shor shesim saying avdo vipol shino. If the shor, a man's shor, blinded his eved's eye, a man had an eved and a shor, and his shor blinded his eved's eye, or took out his tooth. Potter, the eved doesn't go free. But who shesim saying avdo vipol shino chayv. But he himself, right? And that's going to give a case. I'm still looking for a case. Where's a case that is going to be chayv for his shor, potter on himself? That's an interesting case. Here's going to be a case. If a man's shor wounded his father, the man's father, the owner's father, or the owner's mother, is chayiv, of course. Why not? Damage somebody happens to be his father. So if he damaged his father, he has to pay. But a man who would have wounded his father or mother is potter. Why? Because he's chayv misa. Right, come lay b'derabba mina. Come lay b'derabba mina. That we stand him by the one which is bigger. And since he's chayv misa, so he doesn't have the monetary payment. he's chayiv misa for wounding his father or his mother.
So
So
he's putter in damages.
right, so it comes. So okay, and
So
Shoah
it's a theory,
and the Shoah. So it's not really such a leniency. It's because he is such chumrah, such a chumrah. That's why it's going to cause him a leniency.
Yeah.
I think one might help out a little bit about this also, to help make it easier. But the way the Mishnah says is that it comes out of leniency. He doesn't have to pay for damages, and the man does have to pay for damages. The man does not pay for damages, and the Shoah does have to pay for damages. So it comes out of chumrah. Another case which is similar. Who should lick as a goddess b'Shabbos potter? I'm sorry, Shoro should lick as a goddess b'Shabbos chayiv. There's nothing to do with damages. That's to do with Shabbos. That if the shore, oh, it is. I'm sorry.
No,
It has
it's
to do.
damages.
It's damages, but it's on Shabbos. Happen to be on Shabbos. So, but a Shabbos is no difference. You got to pay for damages if it doesn't on Shabbos also.
No, the man's not going to pay.
But the man's not going to. Which he likes to go to Shabbos potter. Why? Because it's chayv misa for making a fire on Shabbos. So he's potter for the damages that it caused. So that's two cases of the Sefer and one case of the Risha.
So the mipnei shehu mechayv nafsho really is going to last. Both examples.
Right here also the potter here, the
Why
potter
did
over
they
here,
say,
and potter over here.
mipnei?
Kim Levi. Why doesn't it say so?
Why did it say
That's
that?
the way the Mishnah uses words. I don't know if the Mishnah uses the words Kim Levi Mine. Maybe that's the Gemara's terminology. Any Rashi over here?
Oh, it would not be a mishnah
Term.
term.
Maybe. I think so. It sounds Aramaic. It doesn't sound like it's going to be in the
I
Mishnah.
see, I see.
Okay, the Gemara continues.
Because it's high about things. But it's a.
Yeah, the mice, as far as paying, it
it's
comes
considered
out
like
that
a pool, right,
yeah.
in terms of-
because it doesn't pay. I'm sorry, back in a minute. Sorry for the delay.
I'm happy for the delay. I had to escape my house. Bad house. Yeah, they're packing up and we're leaving tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
You gonna finish it tomorrow?
No,
Oh, so did you last year?
I thought yesterday was.
Oh,
I snuck out with. Let's say goodbye.
Are you staying till 1 o'clock?
Possibly why?
Then they want to buy pizza and do something.
No, I'm not saying that. Please.
That's
Sure.
Is that worth it?
Thank you very much.
It's not for pizza, it's like bagel.
So,
Bagel.
How about if I got you? How about
no,
if I got you a bagel with?
I appreciate it, but no, I have to
No,
take my wife out to lunch.
so maybe next week if you come one day, then we'll make lunch. Okay,
Okay, we'll see.
so let us know. Good.
We packed up almost everything, but now they're packing up furniture, wrapping the furniture.
Professionals,
Professionals, and they're wrapping up in China. They're
right? And how they're getting, where are they getting it to, how are they getting it to the car?
Naphtali,
Oh, okay.
not to the car, to the truck,
To
truck. To the truck.
what? Oh, so you're gonna.
Yes, we have a lot of stuff in it.
Right, so it's gonna be a small truck.
No, it's a big truck.
Big truck.
No, they're getting the police to close up, coming up from the hotel tomorrow.
Really? Oh, wow. Tomorrow, they're gonna take it tomorrow.
They're taking everything tomorrow.
Okay, Gemara. Tani Bava Kamma Yochanan. So Gemara is going to bring a subject about Hilchos Shabbos and bring it into our Mishnahs. So to try to be like something from our Mishnah. Bava said over Brisa. Kamma Yochanan. Bava told the Yochanan of Brisa. In Hilchos Shabbos, anytime you do something destructive, even though it's one of the 39 malachos, but it was in a destructive way, so you putter. But the Brisa is not only if it's a constructive act, but if it's destructive, putter. Two exceptions. Chobel means making a wound, and even if it was destructive, is chayiv. And also madre, making a fire, even if it was destructive, it wasn't for a constructive purpose. Rashi brings down the drushes where we learn it out from, because the fact that the Torah has to say that Mila is Hilchos Shabbos, and the Gemara talks about Mila, that Mila is considered chobel. Mila. Rashi brings down the drasha. How do we know this? You don't need this from Gemara.
These are the laws of Shabbos.
Right, the laws of Shabbos that Makalkel is potter, but there are two exceptions that even if it's destructive, also it's going to be Shayiv on Shabbos. One is Chovel, which is the Amalacha called the Shochet. If somebody shechting, he lets blood. So here it's going to say, Rashi brings down the source where you know it from, with the Ischachol and Mishrei Mila, Mechal the Shachol Chayiv Mila, that he makes a wound. You might consider that it's not constructive. The Gemara talks about it.
What's Ma'avir?
Ma'avir means to make a fire.
Uh-huh.
Lo savaru eish b'chol moshvo sechem. Don't make a fire. Chovel u'mavi, two malachas, 2 out of 39. 2 out of 39 malachas. Excuse me, achayiv, even if it's destructive.
When does one make a fire that's destructive? Burn down a house.
Okay,
You wouldn't be cluttered.
right. Rashi says that destructive is he burned a kli, a house, a kli. He burned something, so that's destructive. To make a fire in order to cook something is constructive, but to make a fire in order to burn something would be destructive. Still yichayim. Exception to the rule. Two exceptions.
But if you destroy a house, and it's not to build,
You're talking about bona. We're not talking about bona. We're talking about burning. We're not.
Find a case where it seems like there could be things destructive and you still cut it.
What is that?
Tearing down a house.
So he's potter.
Wasn't destructive. What was turned on?
I'm waiting for you to. Why should he be chayiv? He's destructive. So he says no, he's not destructive. He's doing it for a constructive reason.
No. I'm saying he's doing it for a destructive reason.
So he's potter. Call him. What? You're shocked. Okay.
I'm shocked, that's all.
Okay,
Shocked.
okay.
I thought that if you tear down a house, even if you don't want to build there, you're going to be cut.
It's not for a constructive reason. If he's tearing it down because he wants to have a nice lot or something like that, it also might be considered something constructive because he wants to get rid of this.
His neighbor was
So he's potter, and you can be shocked that 37 times because
I would be shocked.
by Choresh and Zoreya, all the malachas is chovel and mavim. 2 out of 39 that he's chayiv.
So if you're talking about on Shabbos, you have to pay him damages.
Oh yeah, no, okay. Then no, he's saying that if he's potter on Shabbos, then in the weekdays surely he has to pay for damages. No question, he has to pay for damages. You know, that's nothing to do with Rosh Shabbos. On Shabbos, you want to know if he's going to potter for damages because it's chayiv misa. And now we're saying that it's not chayiv misa, so he's going to pay chayiv for damages. Okay, that's already going into application.
So if you want to get your neighbor, Goyish neighbor. If you have a Goyish neighbor, you have to take revenge. So on Shabbos, there's opposite.
I don't have one.
Okay, you want to say something else?
No, so it just comes out. For whatever reason, if someone has to do something with kalka, they should pick Seiser rather than whatever.
Chovel Mav is going to be chayiv even if it's destructive. That's what the Brisa, Rav said over Brisa. Amalei, Rav Yochanan was not happy with that. Puk Tani Lebra, go out and teach it outside. Means out of the Beis Medrash or something else. Like this doesn't belong in the Beis Medrash.
In other words,
because
keep it a secret.
What?
Keep it a secret.
Don't say it over here. Say it outside if you want to. Don't say it over here because it's not true. Huh?
Because it's not true.
Don't say it.
Because it's not true. Because
it was one of those things that the law, but we don't want people to know.
No, he's saying it's not true. Chovel Amav ain't a Mishnah. This thing is saying exceptions. It's not 2 exceptions. All 39. Even Chovel Amav is also going to be potter if it's destructive. So he makes it even a bigger shock. 2 more shocks. Chovel Amav is also going to be potter if it was destructive. The Intim Salama Mishnah, if you do want to give some credibility to it, so a little bit, but not too much. Chovel b'tzorach l'kalbo, mavir b'tzorach l'efro. Even if it says that it doesn't have to be as constructive as other malachas, but it can't be destructive completely. It has to have some kind of a purpose. His dog. Chovel, the case that Chovel is going to be chayiv is going to be at least that he needs the blood for his dog. He wants to give his dog some blood to suck on. So that's a little. It's not a great.
Well, that's a.
It's not. It's right. It's not so constructive. Taisa says that these are not so constructive like other malachas would need, but it's something constructive. Or ma'avir b'tzorach l'efro. The only case that ma'avir is going to be chayiv if it's destructive is at least that he needs the ashes. That's a little bit constructive. In the words of the Gemara, you might have said that it means it's completely constructive, but Taisa says not that even he's giving in a little bit. First of all, he says, "Ain't a Mishnah, that's not true. It has to be a constructive." And even if you want to say it doesn't have to be as constructive, but it has to be somewhat constructive, something. Okay.
Well, I use the ashes for it. What's an example of using ashes?
Part of a hustle.
Put on the forehead of a husband. To cover the blood of a. Is that also ashes or dirt? Does that have to be dirt or could be
Over
ashes?
the ashes also.
Okay.
Or they used to use ashes in order to cover.
Making ink.
Okay.
Making ink, use ashes.
Yeah.
So far, we just learned something about Shabbos. Before it says that Chovel Amavir is an exception and it's chayav even if it's destructive. But Yochanan says a little bit constructive. Tanan. Back to our Mishnah, we're going to somehow learn from our Mishnah something about this. How does the Gemara do that? Tanan. Our Mishnah, Show Shidlik is a Kaddish B'Shabbos Chayim. Who Shidlik is a Kaddish B'Shabbos Pater? That was our Mishnah to say the Chumrah of his shore doing some damage is more than he himself. Because if a shore ignites a haystack on Shabbos, he's Chayim. Because what's the difference if it's Shabbos or not? But a man who is Madlik Kaddish is Pater because he be Chayiv Misa for Shabbos.
So he be chayiv misa.
For burning down the Kaddish. Is that constructive?
That seems destructive. It seems like the
It seems destructive. Now you might say he needs the ashes.
Kasha on the mission. Right.
Kasha on those who said that it's chayiv, that those who said that
Rabbi Abba.
again, if we all said Chavla Mabir is chayiv, even if it's destructive, that sounds good.
The name of Rabbi. It's a
That's good. Kasha Yochanan. Yochanan says that he's only chayiv if he's that is true. That I'll show you that Mabir is even when it's destructive, because the case of the mission is destructive and he's part of from payment because it's chayiv misa. So you see it's chayiv misa even though it's destructive. So it's a Kasha on Yochanan. Now who said maybe he's doing it for the ashes?
Who said he's doing?
Who said he's doing it for destructive reason? Rabbi Yochanan said, I could say the case where he did it for the ashes. So the Gemara is going to prove he didn't do it for the ashes because it's the same case as the shore did it. The shore didn't do it for the ashes. Because who do the shore? The Mishnah is comparing him to a shore. My shore, the local boy, the shore when he burned down the Kaddish, he wasn't doing it for ashes. He was not so smart. So the person also is the same case. And the same Apu.
That's really the same case.
Yes, because we're comparing what the shore did and what he would have done. Afu Nami, the local boy, Kathani part of nation eating when Afshel. So it's Kashna Yochanan. So Yochanan says that's he's somewhat constructive. The Gemara gets out of it.
Well,
Who said
comparing to Shabbos? Are we comparing it with Shabbos?
that was the Mishnah? The Mishnah said that if a man burned down the Kaddish on Shabbos, he's put there from paying because he's chayiv for Shabbos. Come live with Rabbi. That was the Mishnah.
But if his animal did it,
In the same case that his animal would have done, it would have been chayiv. In the case the animal would have been chayiv, is without any intention of what he wants the ashes. Yeah, it's destructive.
What's the comparison? I'm just kidding.
The Mishnah compared the ox to the man, and in a case where the ox will be chayiv, the man is going to be potter, and the ox is chayiv. Ox doesn't have any das, and the man, in this equal case where he has no das, he's not doing it for the purpose of ashes. He'd be chayiv for Shabbos. That's against Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it's not chayiv for Mavir only if you're doing it for some kind of a constructive reason. The Gemara is matched. No, who says that the shore didn't have any das? Shore dumi didei. Mahu the kaboile. I've showed the kaboile that the case is that the shore did need it for ashes. So the Gemara smiles. Shoro eichin v'shkachasla. The shore needs it for ashes. And it actually points out that, of course, there's no difference in the shore being chayiv if he does have ashes or not. There's no difference. But let's get the comparison of the shore and the person on the same wavelength. He needed it for ashes. It's talking about a smart shore that he got some kind of wound on his back, and he needs ashes. Everybody knows, or the way to the remedy for the wound, for a bite, is to get ashes. So he burnt the Kaddish in order to get ashes, then he has to roll in the ashes.
Yes.
The Makal is to burn it, the Gather is to roll, the Kutma is the ashes. And how do you know that he's so smart? How do you know that he did it for that purpose? He didn't tell us, because we see that's what he did. The Labas of the Kali, after that he burnt down the Kaddish, she was rolling in his ashes. The Gemara is very surprised. Is it such a smart shore?
But the animals know what's good for them. Like cats eat grass, or dogs eat grass when their stomach, they know. They know
Okay, so
That's what the Gemara says.
I understand, but there's a different problem. He's actually burning the fire.
So he's very smart.
so very smart.
Umi Ika Kihai Gavna. Is there such a case of a shore being so smart? Yes, there are such smart shporim. There was an ox in the house of Rapapa. Rapapa had an ox that it was toothache. The gums. The gums that was cave. It was cave. And he knew what to do. He came in and he took off the lid of a beer barrel and he drank the beer and he got to refu. He knew that the refu for gum pain is to drink beer,
Okay.
even though
Different-
oxen don't usually drink beer, but he knew this is a good thing.
the difference is that he took what was existing,
Now I understand.
whereas the other cow, the ox took what was not existing, and made a fire. That's smart.
He's drinking beer. This show was a party animal.
Can you say that the Mishnah? He has a picture of that also.
A picture of the cow putting in and drinking.
It's a picture.
This is the Dafyomi experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you learn the Mishnah that the Shor? Can you learn the Mishnah that the Shor is doing in the same scenario that the man would have done it? The Gemara assumes even a smart Shor also doesn't. It's not so smart to know how to shame somebody.
I mean, it's giving in about the teeth and
Yeah, that's okay. Tell them, yeah, you could say so much.
It's giving in.
Yeah, but this the Gemara is saying there's no such thing as a Shor knowing to embarrass somebody. It doesn't have the concept of shame.
Doesn't it?
So in the Mishnah it says, you want to say that the Shor is the same case as the man. When is a man chayiv for being mavaish? The more thinks only when he had kavanah to be mavaish, and there's no such Shor. Shor dum today is kavanah. There is no such thing as a Shor that had kavanah to be mavaish. So the Gemara says you made a mistake. That's true. In order to be chayiv for busha, so it doesn't have to be that he had kavanah to be mavaish. And that's enough. That a man will be chayiv for boshes because he intended damage, and it sure does have that. That if the man had kavanah to be mazik, even though he didn't have kavanah to be mazik, he's also chayiv for boshes. He's only part for boshes if he didn't have kavanah to be mazik. So we could read the Mishnah like that. Everything goes. That the Mishnah.
That was that case we had where the guy fell off. He would have to pay for it.
If he fell off in a way that he was mechavan to be mazik, if he didn't have kavanah to be mazik.
Yeah, when he swam over.
Right, in order to. Right, in order to. So that's called kavanah lahazik, even though it's not kavanah lahazik. So the Gemara is happy with this. Rava Omar. Rava says you don't need all this. In order to answer the kasha, you don't need this. Kasha was.
Wait a minute, right now, he got out of the kasha.
He got out of it. Yeah, because the Mishnah could be talking about this was whose teretz? Of Avi's teretz. Of Avi said this teretz that you can say Dochak teretz that is talking about that Shor also did it for a constructive purpose. Not so usual, but you could say it. Rava's going to get out of that. You don't need all that. Rava, this is another teretz, alternative teretz. Masnisim v'shogeg. Uchedetana dveichizkia, tetana dveichizkia, ma kadam maka behema, ma maka behema lo chalakta ba ben shogeg and ben mezid. I'm reading too much. I'll say introduction, then we'll see the more inside. The Gemara assumed in the kasha, in the first that the person is only put to coming with Rabbi Binei if he's actually chayiv misa. If he's actually going to be chayiv misa, so then he's put for the monetary damage that he did. But what I'm saying is not true. Chizkiah holds that even if he's not, the mice is not chayiv misa for some technicality, it was shogeg, or like we're going to say that he did it for a destructive purpose. That doesn't take away from the Pator Kamei with Rabbi Binei. Kamei with Rabbi Binei is even if the mice is not going to get killed, unless he did it for shogeg, he's not getting killed.
Yeah.
Still, he's part from the payment, and so too, Rabbi wants to say that so too, even if you did it for a destructive reason, without any das, the shore doesn't know, not a smart shore, and the person who would have done it in such a case also would not have been chayiv for Shabbos because he didn't do it for a constructive reason. That's still enough to pater him from Kamal Rabbi Minei. The Gemara's kasha was that why should the person be pater Kamal Rabbi Minei? He's not chayiv misa. According to Rabbi Yochanan, he's not chayiv misa because he did it for a destructive. He didn't do it for a constructive reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rabbi says that doesn't make a difference. It's true he wouldn't actually be chayiv misa on Shabbos because he didn't do it for a constructive reason. But it's an act which has chilul Shabbos in it under certain circumstances. That's enough to be pater for Kamal Rabbi Minei. The same way you see that shogeg is pater from Tashlumin, even though he's not chayiv misa. So too, even if he did it for a destructive reason, also he's going to be pater from payment, even though he's not chayiv for Shabbos. Even if he lit the thing b'shogeg and he didn't have any intention, he's still going to be pater from Tashlumin, like Tanat Bechizkiah says. Tanat Bechizkiah, Maka Adam and Maka Behema. The pasuk talks about if someone strikes a man or strikes an animal. Ma Maka Behema. The potro. Somebody killed. He killed an animal. He killed an animal, or he killed person. Makadam, you must. Makanefesh behema yishalmena. Makadam, you must. If he struck a man and killed him, he's chayiv misa. If he struck an animal, he has to pay. But when he has to pay for an animal, it doesn't make a difference how he did it. If he did it b'shogeg or b'mezid, had intention. If he did it while he was on the down motion of the X or on the up motion, in all cases, the potro mammon, there's no difference. He's never potter. He's always chayiv. The shore is chayiv in all cases. So too, the pasuk is comparing.
What's it mean?
Lochi lakta lepotro elo l'chayvim. There's lochi lakta. The word lochi lakta. Lochi lakta. Lepotro. It didn't say any different that sometimes he's potter. Always is chayiv. Always is chayiv. There's no distinction to say sometimes he's potter. Rather, he's always chayiv. Someone who strikes an animal is chayiv in all cases, even if it was a shogeg, it was derech aliyah, lo aimless gavin. But the pasuk says that it's a drush in the pasuk.
Makkah here means a person.
Makkah
is a person who strikes a person, or a person who strikes.
Talk about a person. A person who's the makkah. A person is the makkah. There's a person who's makkah adam. He struck
Adam and a person who's makkah hema. There's no difference. He's always going to be chayiv.
The makkah hema is always chayiv, and the makkah adam is always going to be potter. Now the pasuk says, "Mak adam you must." It doesn't say it's potter. The pasuk says that a person who kills a person is chayiv. It's chayiv misa. But the point is to say that it's chayiv misa and it's potter from tashlum. We're going to put a drash into it. We're making as a comparison to say that the makkah behema across the board is chayiv payment, and the makkah adam across the board is potter from payment. Not that the pasuk is coming really to say that. The pasuk is coming to say that makkah adam is chayiv misa. We look in the pasuk. I think it's on the left side. First time. Someone who strikes an animal and kills it, he has to pay for it. Someone who strikes a man and kills him is chayiv misa, and put in parentheses and put from paying. So we're going to compare that whenever, just like the makkah behema yishalmen is across the board, also the makkah adam that's potter from paying is across the board, even in the case where he's not chayiv misa. That's a drash. And based on that, he's going to say that even if the person is not going to get killed because it was b'shogeg or because it was destructive, whatever it might have been, he's still potter from paying. Just like makkah behema is always chayiv to pay, makkah adam is always potter to pay, which means even if the mice is not going to get killed, and therefore it's not a kasha. Even though Mavir is not chayiv misa because he didn't have constructive purpose, and Rabbi Yochanan says he's potter in such a case, it's still enough to say kam le'midrabinei because it's a chilul Shabbos act, even though it wasn't with all the kabbanas. The Gemara says, "Amulei ban le'rava." It says it doesn't fit into the Mishnah. The Mishnah says the reason why he's potter from paying is because he's chayiv misa. It says because he's judged in his life. That means that is chayiv misa. So the Mishnah is mashma like Chizkiah. The Mishnah is mashma is only potter from paying if he's actually going to be killed. He's actually chayiv misa. The Gemara says doesn't mean that. In some cases they can come to chayiv misa. It doesn't mean that right now he's chayiv misa. In some cases, if he would have been mezid, it would have been chayiv misa. Now he's potter from tashlum, even if he did b'shogeg. In a case where he would have to, he needed it for a constructive purpose for the ashes. So too now he's, even though now he's not chayiv, he says not in v'nafsho, still he's potter. So it's interesting that the whole Gemara, mamash on the side issue, one word, the Mishnah itself is good. That sometimes a person is more chayiv than a shore, sometimes a shore is more chayiv than a person, and he gave all the cases. And the case of the shore being more chayiv is when it comes to midrabmin is a talk for the person. It might one dik that it thought that you see here that even though he didn't do it for the ashes, and that shows us that he's chayiv for Shabbos, even though he didn't do it for a constructive reason. I think why I had to answer that. That's also here. Could you fit Rabbi Yochanan into the Mishnah? Could Rabbi Yochanan say that he's chayiv misa, he's potter misa if he didn't do it for a constructive purpose? And the Gemara says two terutzim. One teretz says the Mishnah told him he did it for a constructive purpose. Not so neat because you have to get the animal also doing it for a constructive purpose, which is not so usual. Or you can say that's not the truth. That even if he didn't do it for a constructive purpose, then the mice is not going to be chayiv misa. But since it's a chilul Shabbos, the concept of burning down, making a fire is chilul Shabbos. He's going to be potter from paying, even though there's no chiyuv misa. Like Tana Devei Chizkiah. Yashikol Chachem. Thank you.
I didn't get this picture, but now I understand. Those are ashes.